Hello YouTube, this is Shooter250. Today I'm going to show you a demonstration of how to install Trijicon night sights on a Springfield XD. This will also work for a Springfield XDM, and I think the only issue you may have a tough time with is with the extra long length barrels, maybe the 5 1/4 inch barrels. Maybe a tough time to get to work on the slide. I haven't tried that, but I'll let you give it a try. So tools you're going to need are, I'll be using a Springfield XD sight tool. It's made by a company called MGW. That's made in the USA. I bought it on Brownells. This tool is specifically for the Springfield XD. It also will fit the Springfield XDM. I've tried this once on a Springfield XDM. It worked out great. It appears to make a black mark on the slide on the top, but I was able to take a paper towel and just wipe that off. So it's apparently a non-marring type. It's not advertised this way, but I won't advertise it, but just for my first attempt it didn't mess up the finish any. So first things you're going to need are a set of Trijicon night sights. I like the standard 3 green dot version. You can buy these on Amazon or Brownells or any other local gun store maybe. The model number for Springfield XDs or XDMs is the SP01. I've already opened up the pack. I've got the sights out right here. You're also going to need a unloaded handgun. Please make sure it isn't unloaded. This is a Springfield XD Subcompact and 9mm I'll be using for this demonstration today. You're going to need to field strip the firearm. Again, to field strip the firearm, as you know, you'll have to pull the trigger to do this, so it's very important that you make sure that the chamber is not loaded, as you can visually see there. So we're going to field strip this real quick. Okay, so now we've got adjuster slide, and I don't think it really matters whether you do your front sight first or your rear sight first. On the XD, there are some tick marks to the sides of these sights to help you center it. That's on the XDM. The XD does not have these tick marks, as you can see. What I'm taking off is the factory standard 3 dot sights. So what we're going to do first off, the slide rails, the rails on the slide right there will fill in this piece right here, and then you tighten it down to hold it in place, and then you turn this knob here and this moves your sights across, either pushes them off or slides them on, whatever you want to do. Everyone online recommends, that I've read, you make sure these threads are greased good before you start. So I'm going to back them all the way one way out. I'll put some grease on or oil on, and then we'll run them all the way the other way and re-oil it just to get started. For this, I'm using just some basic CLP. This is FP10. But you also want to have a few paper towels handy because this oil will probably drip. So I'll put a few drops on there close to the tool, and then we'll run the threads all the way through. Now I'll lay it down on its back. I also like to put a little oil on this rod over here. There's no threads on it, but it's just to reduce friction. And then put oil on the inside of the threads right there. And we'll back this back out all the way. So make sure these threads are good and oiled. You don't want to damage them, make them run smoothly. Now the packaging on this MGW tool, and also I think on the face of the tool, it says never use any type of pipe extension or on T-handle or you will damage the tool. Okay. It also says this tool is not designed to remove tight factory rears. On the XDM, I removed the factory rears with no problem, so just beware of this and do this at your own risk. Okay, so I want to start with the front sight right now. So I'm going to slide this in from the rear, but see, as you can see, it won't go at first. you've got to make sure that your sight pusher part is actually aligned for the slide to slide in. So I'm going to slide this rear sight opening over into the middle, about right there. You can see it better now. Let's see, and then you have to lift up this knob a little bit. Sometimes it's easier to do it upside down, I think. I'm trying to show you what I'm doing so you can get an idea. There we go. So you can see it just slides right over that. Now I'm going to slide the sight tool back so the narrow notch is right in the middle to align with the front sight. Now I'm going to finish pulling the slide through, and notice it caught, so I'm going to slide it over just a hair, and then it goes in. Okay, now that's aligned right, I like to get the sight kind of in the center of this rod best I can. That way I'm pushing on the center of the sight, not the front or back really. Alright, once I get where I think it's kind of centered, then you tighten this knob down on the bottom. That holds the slide in place. So this is what you should be seeing right now. You've got your slide mounted in the MGW tool. And next you're just going to crank this T-handle and push the slide off to the side. Excuse me, push the sight off to the side. Now it will be a little tough. I mean, it won't slide freely, of course, because you don't want your sights to just fall off the gun. But you should be able to do it just one-handed without any extra tools, I believe. Last time I kind of grabbed the handle for some, I grabbed the slide for some leverage. I don't know if that's a recommended practice or not. I may have to do it this time. They're a little stiff sometimes. Try keeping the camera, but to get it closer to my body so I can get some leverage on this thing. There it goes. I think it broke free that time. If you had a pair of more of ice, you could set this in. It may make it easier, but I don't have one, so just trying to hold on to it here in the garage. I'll give you a quick peek. You can see how the front sight is slid over to the left some already. And here in a few seconds, it'll just pop off. Alright, it's getting pretty easy now. The sight's pretty loose, so it's going to slide out. And you can see it kind of tilt down, it's going to fall out. There we go. So here is our original factory sight. And we've got our bag of Trijicon sights here. So you can see on the top of the front sight, it says, I don't know if you can see that or not, it says Trijicon on the top. Then at the bottom, there's a T with a slash through it. Then it says H with a subscript 3. That stands for tritium. And then a 12. That stands for they're manufactured in the year 2012. So I'll dump this out. And I'll hold it up to the camera. Maybe I'll focus here on it in a second. Well, lights are on here, so you can't really see it glow. But before this demonstration's over, I'll be sure and turn the lights out and show you how it looks. Initially, I installed the front sight first, but then I realized I wanted the front sight off while I removed the rear sight so I didn't break it. So I'd recommend you remove both sights before you install one. So now I'm going to work on the rear sight. I'm going to turn this all around because my frame's going to my slide's barely going to be mounted in here at that point. Like I said, I think it's easier to attach the slide if it's upside down. If it won't go in at first, if it hits something, just lift this knob. It's probably caught on the roll bracket, and it'll slide right in the rest of the way you need it. Okay, so get my rear sight in the center of the pusher, tighten the slide down, and let's push the rear sight off. Now, remember the warning here, this tool is not designed to remove tight factory rears. So do this at your own risk. We'll give it a try. No promises. Okay, YouTube, sorry for the long break there, and sorry for not catching this all on video, but I finally did get the rear sight off. What I had to do to get the rear sight off was, I read online, people suggested putting the whole slide in the freezer for an hour. So I tried that, put it in the freezer, and I set it on its lowest setting. It was negative 25 degrees, and I left it in there for an hour. Now whether or not that's the right thing to do, I don't know, but I was able to get it off eventually. I never took thermodynamics in college, but there's what I did. Also, in addition to freezing the slide, I did have to use some additional leverage on the MGW tool. As you can see, I've marred up the handle a little bit. What I did was I took a socket with a cheater bar on it, slid that over the handle. It was a deep socket to allow me to get some extra leverage. Between freezing the slide and the additional leverage, I was able to push the rear sight off. So now, let's see about pushing the rear sight back on. Notice the front sight's off right now. I put it on earlier, but I thought just to be safe, I'm going to push it off before I try freezing it and try putting extra leverage on the MGW tool. I didn't want to, by some accident, break or damage the Trijicon sight, so I took it off. So now, actually we're going to put both of them back on. I'm going to try the rear sight first. That's what I had the most trouble with removing. Hopefully this will go a little bit easier now. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the slide back into the sight adjustment tool. Make sure everything's lined up. Okay, now I'm going to take the tritium sight, and notice on this sight, if you can see it or not, part of the ink has been rubbed off. I don't know if this is a manufacturing defect or what happened, but the sights were brand new in the package when I bought them from Amazon, so I don't know what's going on with this. They don't appear to be damaged, and they both still glow, so hopefully there's nothing wrong. So when you put the sight on the slide, you want to make sure that it's facing the right direction. Actually, I'm going to re-oil these threads also, because they took a beating yesterday trying to remove that sight. I'm just going to run them through both ways just to make sure they're coated good. Yeah, really. So nice. Try to get the sight lined up so that it's in the center axis with the adjustment tool there. So you can see what I'm looking at now. The rear sight's off to the left. Now we're going to tighten this down and try to push it to the right. Try to center it back up. Hopefully this will be a little bit easier than removing the old sight. It turned out to be quite the adventure. Okay, I'd like to check on it after a few turns, make sure it appears to be fitting in the groove correctly. Everything looks good. Doesn't look cockeyed. I don't see any metal bulging out anywhere, so we'll keep working at it. Man, this is going a lot easier than removing that old sight. I mean, I had to use this cheater bar on here the entire way to push it off. It wasn't like it broke free and it was easy to turn. I mean, it was a struggle the entire time. So last time I did this on an XDM, I didn't have all these issues. It was removing the rear sight was a cakewalk, I thought, because I read stuff online, people saying how stiff they were. I thought I must have just got lucky, or maybe they've changed that. I don't know, but this one was pretty stiff. But now this gun is several years old. It's not brand new though, too, so we'll keep that in mind. I don't know if the age affects how tight they are or not. Okay, not quite in the center yet, but it's sliding on there good. It's looking good. Let's keep cranking. Getting pretty close to the center there. I'm going to pull it out of the jig and look at it from the top to see how close we are to the center. There are some tick marks on the rear, also, to kind of help you gauge centering and get. I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not on the camera. You can see one complete tick mark here and a little bit of space past it, and you can't see any of the tick mark over here. So we need to go back that way. I think we overshot it some. Let's go back that way. There we go. Okay. Just a few turns. We'll try not to overshoot this thing. Okay. That was a complete revolution once we made contact. Let's see how it looks. See the tick mark on both sides. It's not quite in the center. You need to go back that way just a hair. So we'll slide it back in and turn it just a fraction of a turn once we make contact. So the whole turn was too much. Alright, we kind of snugged it up. We'll just try that right there. This is one of those things you just gotta be patient with. Alright. Looks like it's right in the center there. So now let's get the front sight on. So I'll need to pull the slide out of the jig, flip it around, insert it this way. Again, I think it's easy to get lined up upside down. I'll flip it back upright. Let's wipe some of this grease off our hands. Okay, now we got the tritium front sight. Make sure it's facing the right direction. Start it. And now we need to align our sight jig with the front sight so we can push it over. It came off from the other direction. I just want to push it on from the other direction. It came off on the left side. So I'm going to start on the left and then pull it back to the right, the same direction I removed it. Maybe that'll be a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so get the sight right there in the center of the jig. Clamp that down. Make sure everything looks okay. Alright, now we'll start sliding it over. Keep an eye on it, make sure it's not getting bound up. Make sure it's not turning diagonally or sideways. Don't want to break it. Now you can see I can do this with a decent amount of effort, but I can still do it without any additional tools. Moving that rear sight, there was no way I could have done that. I don't have a vise to put the jig in. That probably would have been helpful, but I had some wooden stairs in my garage, and I kind of held that against it and held down here and used the cheater bars to show you how I got enough leverage to do it. But man, it was more difficult than I anticipated. I almost didn't finish this video. I thought, man, maybe I shouldn't be teaching people how to do this. I don't want to be deceptive and make it look easy, and then it's really not. So just a fair warning. It's a tough task. Okay, we'll get close to the center, maybe a few more turns. That looks pretty close. Let's slide out of the jig and take a look at it. And notice before I slide out of the jig, I turn the handle back the other direction. That's to take the pressure off the front sight. It won't slide out unless you do that. It's got so much pressure where it's pulling it to the side, it's going to be stuck in there. Alright. Now you can see, boy, that's right on the money right there. That looks good. You can just barely see the tick mark on the right and on the left. That worked out really good right there. So let's slide the jig back. We'll slide the jig back to the right, or excuse me, to the left, so the rear sights can slide up through that gap. And we'll remove the slide from the jig. There we go. Now, we've just installed a pair of tritium night sights. And as I promised, I'll show you what they look like in the dark. I'm gonna go kill the lights real quick. Now you can see the sights glowing. There's a little bit of light coming into the garage from the window, but I've got the blinds closed. The camera doesn't really do this justice. These sights are definitely green. It's hard to see that in this camera, looks like. And they appear brighter, I think, in real life than the camera makes them look. But there you can see. Low light conditions, you can see your 3 dots just fine. This has been Shooter 250, showing you how to install Trijicon night sights on a Springfield XD. These techniques should also work on a Springfield XD. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos.